welcome everybody into the Real Talk Ravens podcast. We are back here on a Thursday night football week. So we are going to combine the Cleveland recap and the Cincinnati preview together on one episode. All right, so that's why we're doing it today. We didn't do it on Monday, and this will be our one episode for these two mashups.
And this is this is my first and hopefully last loss that I've been here for. If you guys remember, Palmer filled in for me the last two times. So,
this is true. So
let's make sure that this is the last one I got to do, guys.
So, what we're going to do is we're going to just quickly go give our initial and final thoughts, put this game to bed kind of. And then when we go over, we're going to go over offense. We'll go over both the previous game and the upcoming game, and then we'll do the same with defense.
Yep.
All right, so let's just go ahead and get started with our final thoughts from the overarching theme of the Cleveland game.
We quit. That's it. It's that simple. If you look at the film and you look at the way we've been playing, there's absolutely no excuse for the way that we lost this game. And it's frustrating as a Ravens fan because this is what always happens when we play a tight game. It's like we can never – if we had let them score 30 on us and then we went down the field and killed the game, even if it's close, I'd have felt a trillion times better than I did now. Because every time we play a tight game, we find a way to lose the game. And I don't mean like the Cardinals where we're already up by 10 and then they just kind of get a lucky onside kick. I mean games where we have to fight. We just don't have it. We just can't do it. At least not to this point. And it's an overarching theme over 3 seasons now.
Yeah, I know they did. Especially the last 2 seasons, it's been really bad with us having 2 possession leads going into the fourth quarter and just blowing them. And it's really weird because I saw someone do a graphic saying from, looking at John Harbaugh's entire career, he went on some crazy streak of winning like 75 straight games where he had a 2 possession lead going into the fourth quarter until 2021. I don't know what happened, but in 2021 we started losing these 2 possession games going into the fourth quarter. It's almost like there's a curse been put on us or something.
Right.
But
or we're
either way, we are not executing. I don't want to sit here and blame Harbaugh for this, but our players are not executing simple things. We are turning the ball over in the fourth quarter specifically.
In dumb ways too, not just like unlucky turnovers, like blatant, like we have to try to turn the ball over for it to happen.
We would be better off taking 4 knees and punting the ball in some of these situations.
Right.
And then you got the defense who's been supposedly this historic defense comes out there and just lays an egg in the fourth quarter. I mean, really wasn't just the fourth quarter this week, but if you look at overall, it seems like that's the time of the game that they just get worn down and we are just letting them drive up and down the field. And I don't know if it's a scheme thing or if it's a fatigue thing or what, but either way, the Cleveland game, our defense just played poorly pretty much after the first quarter. It was like second, third, and fourth, they were done.
Let me say this to any Ravens fan, to any national media pundit, to anyone watching us who says, here we go again, you have every right. You have every right. You have every right to say it because it is a theme that has recurred year after year. And I have no confidence that if we had to play the Chiefs or if we had to play the Steelers or the Browns or the Bengals or the Jaguars or any good playoff team in the playoffs, we could comfortably put them away. It would be a nail biter, and we would have to get lucky to win, or we'd have to blow them out. Which is it's weird because we're not a bad team. We can blow out anyone on any given Sunday. We have to play bad for teams to be close to us. But when they do get it close, it's like a mental error. It's like I don't know. It's starting to be a real concern.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to sit here and say, it's one game we lost, because we've lost 3 games like this year. I saw a list of top 10 teams to start the season leading the least amount of time. like we have, because I think we're 28 minutes, or sorry, trailing the least amount of time. We've trailed 28 minutes. Every other team on that list was 10-0 at this point in the season. We're 7-3. And now, not only are we 7-3, we've lost our 2-game cushion in the division because now we're 2-2. And if we lose on Thursday, we'll be 2-3. So the best we can do is 3-3, and that's if we can find a way to beat a team that we never can beat in Pittsburgh. So, it's depressing, and it shows that in this division you cannot slack off. I wish I
play
could
4
grab
quarters.
John Harbaugh by the shoulders and throttle him and be like, dude, what the F are you doing, man? Because it's like every year. And then the reaction from him is, oh, we got to be better. Oh, we're going to make some changes. Never does. Oh, I could have played this player more. Oh, I guess that could have been fine. But then he'll get super defensive when you call him out on his problems. Like playing Marcus Williams, who has one leg and one arm, when we have the best safety in the league on the bench behind him. Or when we take out, okay, I'll be completely honest, outside of Lamar, the best healthy running player on our team in the entire second half. There's no reason for any of this shit to happen. Pardon my language. Any of this crap to happen. It's all self-inflicted. And it does come down to coaching. Obviously, there are things that the players can execute better, but it comes down to coaching. And every year when we run into problems like this, nothing happens. Nothing changes. Oh, we're good. We'll be fine. Will we?
Yeah. It's just I feel like we gotta play 4 quarters, and we don't seem to. We haven't figured that out yet. And the bright side is we're only in November. We're only at the midway point of the season. We still have a whole second half of the season to go. So
a very tough second half.
Yeah.
I do not.
The other thing that I will say is Cleveland, I feel like matches up very well against us with their personnel. Their strengths are a lot of our weaknesses, especially on their defense and versus our offense. Their pass rushers versus our tackles, and especially when you don't have a Morgan Moses and you have McCary in. McCary's just not built for that type of rusher.
See, I was under the impression that Moses was going to play this week.
Yeah, he practiced, and I feel like with the short week coming up here, they just made the decision, which, looking back, probably wasn't the right one to make. But, yeah, I mean, it's like when we get up big on a team early, you can almost expect it to happen now, us to give the lead up. It's like
obviously there are exceptions. We can get up way, way big against like the Seahawks and the Lions.
Against an AFC team, especially an AFC North team, no lead is safe.
What happens when we're playing in Kansas City in January and we're up by 10 in the fourth quarter and the Chiefs have it at midfield? We proved today or on Sunday 2 things that really, really worry me. One, a scrambling quarterback will have a field day against us. We play Josh Allen. We play a healthy Joe Burrow. We play a healthy Patrick Mahomes. We don't have a chance.
Deshaun
Watson, yeah.
I expect to see them in the playoffs.
And also, you throw a screen at us, we're not going to stop it. We can't. We don't know how. There's no reason that David Njoku should have the kind of game he had against us with the personnel we have. But it happened. And it's like, I'm glad it's happening now, mid-season, when we can hopefully look and adjust, but I have very little hope that we will because it never happens.
That was the first game that we really lost the battle of the line of scrimmage.
On both sides.
On both sides, offensively and defensively. Now, we had our moments defensively where we got in there and made, good stops, but if you look at it, throughout the game, they were getting chunks of yardage on the ground with Ford, and they were just manhandling us up front, and they were getting pushed 2-3 yards down the field, and we were not doing anything.
I guarantee you if Tyler slapped on a Browns jersey and lined up behind Deshaun Watson, he'd have had a 100-yard game on 6 snaps because that's how bad it was. That's how bad it was.
They out-physicaled us, and that is supposed to be our brand of football.
Mm-hmm.
So, the challenge will be, how are we going to react to that? Are we going to sit down and fold and, put our tail between our legs for the rest of the year? Or are we going to bounce back and take that as a lesson and be like, you know what? We can't do this the rest of the year.
Now, I will make one note that could have made the entire difference of the game, although I don't think it would have the way they were running the ball. We wasted that timeout in the third quarter. That was such a stupid timeout. If we had had it in the fourth quarter, we'd have forced them to kick it. I don't think we would have won the game because I have no faith in our offense against that defense the way we were playing. But, 3 timeouts, stop them rather than calling your last one with 1:07 left with them at your 30. That's basically saying, okay, we lost. There's nothing we can do.
Yeah. Yep. The play that I think, to me, that really stood out, that if the ball just bounced our way, it would have been game over, was the Odafe Owe sack strip.
Yeah.
And we just, didn't get,
We were
the
right
ball
there.
didn't bounce to our guy, the ball bounced to their guy, and that's how it went. And they went down and kicked the field goal.
And that just shows that, even when we're at our worst, we still have chances to win. We did score 31 points on them,
And I said this after the game. I said, there's no reason with the way the defense that we have that we should ever lose a game that we score 31 points in.
Right.
There should never be a reason for that to happen.
AFC North, that's tough. But like I said, now we've lost our cushion. We were up 2-0. We beat the Bengals. We beat the Browns. Then we choked it away against the Steelers and the Browns again. If we lose on Thursday, we're 2-3. I have no faith that we're going to beat the Steelers week 18, whether we're resting or starting all of our players, because we can't beat the Steelers. It's like a mental block with the Steelers. But
they want it more.
They do. We are like the team that will show up because we're flashy and we're good and we know we're good, but the second we get punched in the face, we give up. We go and we cry to our parents. We're like, oh my God, the Browns hurt us.
When is that going to change is the question. Who is going to be the one that makes that change? It's got to be a leader that steps up and says, we're not going to have that happen to us again.
Right. I'm looking at you, Roquan. Look, I think there was a lot of miscommunication between our middle linebackers this week, and I don't think that'll happen again. I do expect Roquan Smith to get that unit together, the whole defensive unit really, and kind of give them hell this week. And knowing Mike McDonald, kind of his coaching style and all that, I expect there to be a lot of pressure on them. But it is a short week, so it's mostly walkthroughs and film, which is good. This is good after a loss like that, but also the way we got beat up on a short week leaves us vulnerable against the Bengals,
Yeah, so let's go ahead and look forward to this game. We're obviously playing Thursday Night Football, 8:15. It's going to be on Amazon Prime, so you ain't going to see it on your local TV. We're at home at the bank. It's a blackout. Black jerseys, black pants. Spread on the game, we're favored by 3.5 points. The over-under is 46.5. Last time we played was in week 2. We beat them 27-24 in Cincinnati. Right now, we are at 7-3. The Bengals are at 5-4.
Thank you, CJ Stroud.
Yeah. So the Bengals are coming off that loss, like you said, versus the Texans, and a very close one, a last-second win for the Texans. Yeah, man, Houston's looking for real.
By the way, I'm pretty sure no matter what we do this week, if the Browns lose to the Steelers have the division because of our shitty loss to the Browns, just because of tiebreakers and all that, and they have one less game. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong on that, but I think I heard that somewhere.
Gotcha. The other thing is the weather is going to be 53 degrees, nice and crisp. And we're going to have your favorite, Adrian Hill, as our referee this week.
Can't be worse than the one we had last week.
Honestly, I kind of was like, when I was rewatching it and just even watching the highlights, I felt like they were kind of reffing in our favor on quite a few occasions.
Were they really?
It seemed like they were just there were some very tic-tac penalties that they gave us on like pass interferences on the Browns that
it was makeup calls came against us,
Yeah, I just felt like they were definitely the more penalized team than we were. Now, I know Rocky Sims called for a bad one,
Mhm.
and to me, it was kind of tic tacky too. So, but I just feel like they had more.
Well, and I'm not even saying that he was like bad necessarily against us. He was just a bad ref in general. You know,
Mhm.
I mean, there were a couple no calls in there that was like,
I
are you
would not be
kidding me?
surprised if they had the call from Vegas to try to sway our way, the way that some of those calls were made.
Right.
Um, but yeah, so we got
Uh,
Adrian Hill.
hmm.
He's done some big time games. I'm pretty sure done a Super Bowl.
As a main ref or just as
Is the main
like
ref?
a
Yeah,
okay.
I think so. I haven't done any research on it, to be honest with you, since it's this short week. But yeah, as far as injuries and signings go, we did make a transaction today. We released tight end Eric Tomlinson from the practice squad. He's only been here for a few weeks. And we signed an offensive tackle. We signed Josh Wells to the practice squad. He's a 32-year-old vet. He's been, over the course of his career, mostly a swing tackle like McCary. So I think he's just going to give us more depth at that position. Past 4 seasons, he's been that backup in Tampa Bay. So he did win a Super Bowl there with them.
Cool.
Yep.
Uh,
So he was kind of their McCary for Tampa.
good. I mean, McCary has been amazing for us. Besides last week, which what do you expect when you play the best D line in football?
Yeah. But moving forward to the injuries, some key ones for the Bengals.
Thank God, I didn't realize. Oh, sorry.
Wide receiver T. Higgins is out with a hamstring injury. And if you remember from week 2, he went off and had over 100 yards receiving versus us. So that is a huge loss for them. Then on the other side, you got defensive end Sam Hubbard, who's out
Mr.
with an
Fumble
ankle.
6.
Yes, Mr. Fumble 6. So thankfully they got two big guys, two big starters out for them. But on the other side, more than likely, you're not going to see Ronnie Stanley or Marlon Humphrey, who got hurt
Yeah.
last week. So
So it
that's
kind of
it's
equals
kind of
out.
tit for tat with that. But the other guy on the Bengals that they haven't come out with their Tuesday injury reports just yet because I guess the Bengals practice later. But Trey Hendrickson is a guy to watch, defensive end. I know he came out of the game last week versus Houston, and they had no pass rush on CJ Stroud with him and Hubbard being out. So that could bode well for us. I don't think their secondary is that great to begin with. So if we have all that extra time to throw the ball, that would be really good. And
Let
then,
me also make a
oh,
comment
breaking
on
news:
that.
Brendan Hyde just won AL Manager of the Year.
Yeah, sweet.
Yeah,
Let's go. Let's
go ahead.
go. That's a good breaking news. I was going to say on Marlon Humphrey, we got so lucky that it's just a day-to-day thing because I know the Twitter doctors or the X doctors were saying torn Achilles. Personally, Tyler
Yeah,
didn't really think that, but you never know these days. So
dude,
I did have a
I honestly, the way that they were explaining it, I was like, man, he must have a torn Achilles.
Well, I did mention in the group chat, I had a friend at the game, and he did see Marlon walk to the tent
Yeah,
and then walk to the locker room, which was
normally
kind
you
of
get
like,
carted off with an
right.
Achilles.
So it's kind of a he said, she said, but thank God that he's going to be okay. Same with Ronnie Stanley, but let's be honest, he's not really that great of a player anymore, so it doesn't matter.
Just so like he's not tough.
I
So
look.
fragile.
This is my least favorite part of football because Ronnie Stanley's a really good guy, and he is a team player in the sense of like he loves being on the Ravens. He loves his teammates. I saw a thing that if we cut him after June 1st next year, we can free up enough cap space to sign some of the guys we're looking at, and I wouldn't really hesitate if I was EDC. And I know that sucks because it's like use them till you can't anymore, and that's the whole argument. And it's a
His level
terrible
of
side of the
play is
sport,
not
but
equaling what he's getting paid, and
if
it's
he
not
was
even
to sit
close.
if he was to sit down and renegotiate, I'm sure we would find a way to keep him. But the fact of the matter is we have a backup left tackle that usually outplays him. We have Justin Matabike, who we're going to have to resign. We have Patrick Queen, who's proving that we need to resign him. And we have Geno Stone, who we're going to need to resign, among others.
Yeah, and when you got young guys like that that are at the top of their position in their prime, it's hard to watch them walk. When you
And
have a
it's
guy like Ronnie Stanley, who you're paying all this money to, who has not played but a handful of games over the last 3 seasons.
And when he
And
does,
now he's not even at his Pro Bowl level that he was playing when he was young.
it's weird because it happens in flashes. He'll have really good moments, but then he'll have dreadful moments. And it's like I
That's what I
can't
was saying
tell,
last week. Yeah.
I can't tell if it's a psyche thing or if he just doesn't have it in him to play a full game at full strength. Or, I mean, and I do feel bad because he did get rolled over on that ankle again.
Knee.
Oh, it was his knee? Yeah, that's right. He got rolled over on that knee again. And it's just a never kind of ending thing with those injuries. And as a big man like that, it's tough. But when you get paid that much, you're expected to play a certain way when you do play. If he was like injured a lot, but he was dominant when he played, I think it would be a different story.
Yep.
But he's not.
Good news, though, coming off the injury report is Morgan Moses has practiced full. Monday was just a walkthrough, so that's really nothing, but he did practice in full today, which was huge. Something that they probably didn't even have to do, but it's good that he did. And then one that is a question mark. Apparently, John Simpson randomly popped up on the injury report today.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody heard it. Why? No one knows what his injury is. Hopefully, it's just maybe him taking some personal time or something like that.
Maybe it's not injury related at all. Yeah.
Or maybe he's catch the same bug that freaking Jalen Armour Davis gave him.
And Michael Pierce told him,
Yeah. So, I mean, he was blocking Pierce probably in practice. So,
I do want to keep an eye out on Jadeveon Clowney and Kyle Van Noy, even though Kyle Van Noy is questionable. I think he'll play. I know groin injuries linger, but we have enough depth there that I think he can still play if he wants to. Daryl Worley, it's a hamstring, probably not.
well, he didn't play last week, right?
I don't think he did.
So, with that extra rest, maybe he'll be okay. We'll see.
And then you have Clowney with the wrist. He
Clowney?
looked a little banged up in that game.
Well, he said today he spoke to the media and he said he'll be fine.
Okay, I didn't see that.
Yeah, because he wasn't even on the injury report yesterday. I think him and Odell always get that rest day.
Yeah.
But they did say Odell had a sore knee.
I mean, I get it.
They're old. They get sore.
They're older. Yeah. I mean, you're playing a game that is like getting in a bunch of car crashes and you're in your 30s and you've been doing it for 10 years at this point. I understand.
Yeah.
Especially if you're the one. I mean, you say when people get hit, it takes a lot, but imagine being the one doing the hitting like Jadeveon Clowney. Like, that's probably worse because you got to take down big guys all the time, and go up against that O-line and, it's probably just as bad.
Yeah. But that wraps up the injury report for this week. Let's go ahead and shoot it over to TK's Coach's Film Room. What's up, guys? Welcome to TK's Coach's Film Room Study. Here we're going to be going over the Baltimore Ravens Cleveland Browns matchup from Week 10. Just some overarching themes just to get started. Bunch sets allowed Cleveland. So offensively, we were in a lot of bunch sets, kind of like the one you see on the screen, where our receivers are compact in to the line of scrimmage, and it allowed them to Cleveland to disguise blitzes, especially with their secondary. I feel like we kind of had a lower success rate, or at least they were able to get us for losses on a lot of these plays. We weren't able to see the blitzes pre-snap and protect Lamar accordingly. So just something to keep in mind. Defense, I felt like we tried to debut some new coverages. I don't know if it's because Marcus Williams was healthy and back in, and we were trying to have him, Geno, and Kyle Hamilton all three on the field at the same time. But it was clear that we had guys that were confused, especially it seemed like our inside linebackers with Patrick Queen and Roquan. They're usually very good at communicating on when to pass things off, and there were just times where there were nobody. It looked like one of them was passing a receiver off. The other guy was nowhere to be found, and they were just not on the same page. And there were just a ton of busted coverages with guys wide open. Also, Lamar, he just needs to, or at least Monken, he needs to call more rhythm throws where his first read is just a nice, easy, out route, stick routes, things like that. Lamar is very good when it comes to that. He's able to get his feet in the ground and deliver a very accurate pass. We just need to be able to take what the defense gives us instead of always trying to take deep shots down the field. It seems like we were just trying to do a little bit too much offensively when we had things there that they were giving us. Back to the defense, Broderick Washington. He, hasn't really come up too much this year, which we were hoping he'd have a bigger year considering we gave him all this money before the season started with the extension. He had a tough game this week. He got pancaked multiple times. We'll see it on film. And I feel like they were just running it right at him. And then lastly, it just felt like overall, offensively and defensively, we were outcoached by the Browns. They had a much better game plan coming into the game. I don't know if it was because we were overlooking them or looking forward to the Bengals game, but definitely just got outcoached. All right, getting started offensively. Just wanted to start off with a positive, but also a question with that. So first, I think this was the first drive of the game. We open up with a nice bootleg play action. We got Rashad Bateman running a crossing route. He gets good separation in man coverage. We have the flat route that draws an extra defender down. And Lamar throws the ball on a rope perfectly in stride, and we get a nice 20-25 yard gain out of it. What I wanted to question on that is, why didn't we do more of this? Throughout the game, Lamar is being pressured in the pocket. Anytime that he got out of the pocket on bootlegs or designed plays where he was able to move outside of the pocket and find someone down the field, it just seemed like we were very successful with it. I feel like throughout the season so far, he's been very successful on the run. We need to do more of that, especially when we get our run game going. We can set up our pass off of it. All right, next play, Keaton Mitchell. This is his touchdown run. We do a nice little pump fake right here to a slant route. Makes this defender jump that. And then just watch the speed. All right, so he makes a really nice cut right here. He's got one defender, two defender. Our Duvernay, I think that is going to block this safety. And Keaton Mitchell just takes a nice cut outside. Look at this angle that he has. He is 5 yards past him and taking this angle to try to cut Keaton Mitchell off. But Keaton Mitchell's speed outruns that angle, outruns all three of these DBs' angles for a nice 34-yard touchdown. All right, so this is more of a scheme question, or something that we can build on off of this play that I'd like to see going forward, whether it's with Patrick Ricard or with somebody else, maybe another tight end like Mark Andrews or Isaiah Likely. This is something that I would like to see. Right now, we're going to be running a read option with a split flow action with Patrick Ricard, coming like he's running split zone. We're going to leave this guy unblocked and read him. And then the way that we run an RPO off of it instead of like a true triple option. And we have this guy out into the flats here that will read for who we throw to. And what they are going to do, the Browns, they're going to have this guy scrape outside, and he becomes Lamar's third read on the play. All right, so let's read it out. Okay, so he reads 99, pulls it. Good decision. I'm good with that. He takes the running back, so Lamar pulls it. Now we've got Patrick Ricard coming across here. There's no reason for him to try to block this guy since we're leaving him unblocked for the read. So now what Lamar Jackson does is he takes it and pulls it up and he tries to throw it, and the ball, since he is so wide, gets batted down when he tries to throw it. What I'd like to see is Patrick Ricard here slip under this and just be right here for a nice dump underneath of number 6 for a shovel pass. Now, like I said, whether we want Ricard being that guy or maybe a Mark Andrews, someone that gives you a little bit more after the catch, that's just something I'd like to see built off of this play. Especially with the way the Browns were playing it, with him being so wide and being able to tip this pass. Look at this lane right here that we have. All right. Read the space on the field. That's something that we did not do very well. And again, I just felt like we were out-coached in many phases. All right. Next play. I just want to highlight Lamar's deep ball accuracy issues. He's got a touchdown here. So right now, all you're going to see is a little slot fade concept. Some people call it like a smash switch concept, kind of. So you're going to get a nice curl out here, and you're going to get your slot fade. So versus man coverage, we are thinking, let's run this. Let's give our guy a chance here, one-on-one coverage on the slot fade. What the Browns are going to do is they're bringing this guy hot off the edge right now, and he's going to come down, and he's got man coverage on Zay. All right, so this is who we're throwing it over. As soon as Lamar recognizes it, he does a great job reading it and knowing who to throw to. It's more so just his accuracy. He needs to put more air under the ball and give his guy a chance. Zay Flowers is extremely fast. So whether they have to be taking extra reps at practice on these passes or what, they need to do something because his deep ball accuracy has been off for the past few weeks. All right, so here comes the blitz. Man coverage outside. And Zay Flowers burns by him. He throws it. He's got separation right here. If he just puts the ball in the bucket, that's a touchdown. Walked in. Easy. Instead, I don't think we wound up getting any points in this drive. I think, in fact, we end up in this 4th down right here where I just want to highlight this is the field goal block, right? So person that he's been, kind of on the downside of his career is Ben Cleveland, number 66. Here he's in the left tackle position. So his job is basically to block down. He needs to block down right here on this guy and just keep his body as wide as possible so that nobody can get through. And if they do get through, it's late and he gets bull rushed over, which I'm fine with. That's just how you're taught in field goal block. All right. So here he is trying to take on both of these guys, but he's giving this gap inside. Never give a gap inside. If you're going to give up anything, give it up to the outside gap because he's farther away from the kick. All right. So he lets the guy come inside of him, and then look at this. It's just too easy for them. And unfortunately, that's going to go against Tucker's stats. Another thing I want to point out is a good job here. Jordan Stout, he was the holder. He is the guy that makes the touchdown saving tackle here. Look at it. Look at his speed. Boom. Punters. Who said punters can't hit? All right, next. All right, so here we have a hole shot. What I mean by that is the defense is basically running a cover 2. All right, he might carry just for a little bit, but he's got his eyes inside looking for anything coming to the flat. And then you got your safety up top here, who's basically your cover 2 safety. All right, what you can see here, though, is offensively, we are going to run basically a 4 vertical scheme. And he's going to run up the seam, and then he's going to run down the sideline. Okay, this safety gets held by this seam right here, which allows Lamar to throw it outside. All right. The reason I'm drawing it up on this side is because this is the side that Lamar looks to, but we ran the same thing on the other side. All right. So right away, safety does not get off the hash really. He just stays right here because he sees vertical number 2. And then the corner comes off of the outside receiver. There isn't even anything out here, so he should carry him, but he doesn't. And So right now, Lamar should be thinking, I'm trying to hit it right here on the 45 on a rope, which he has the ability, he has the arm to do. And that could be another big play. Easy, maybe a touchdown with the speed we have out there. So again, I mean, even on the scramble here, if he has his eyes up right now, that's a 30-yard play right there. So Lamar just has to do a little bit better here. All right, defensively, you can't go and not show this play. I couldn't watch all 22 defensively and not come out and say, look at this play from Kyle Hamilton on the very first drive, our very first defensive touchdown of the season. I mean, he kicks off the game in a major, major way and really gives us a good chance to put these guys away early. We didn't, but he gave us that chance. All right, so Kyle Hamilton's right here in the nickel position. Again, like I said earlier, you got Marcus Williams back at safety. He is playing the strong safety. And then you got Geno Stone playing the free safety backside to the boundary. All right, and what that means is Arthur Millette has been kind of subject to the bench now that Kyle Hamilton is back, or now that Marcus Williams is back, and now that moves Hamilton to our nickel spot. All right, so what he's going to do, he's coming off the edge on his famous blitz. This time he didn't really time it that great. It was only like the first or second play of the game, but we love sending Kyle Hamilton off the edge when he's in nickel. If I was scouting for any opposing team against us, I would say we have to be ready for 14 coming off the edge because he does it so well, and he makes so many plays when he does it. And Mike McDonald is not afraid to call it 3, 4, 5 times a game. All right, so for second play of the game, here he comes. They're trying to throw a flat route here on a stick concept to the tight end. Kyle Hamilton's frame and length do not allow this to happen. Kind of similar to the interception that Lamar threw, except it was a defensive lineman that batted it down. Kyle Hamilton's not only able to bat it, but he tips it to himself, walk-in touchdown. That's a freak athlete making a freak play. All right, next. It kind of goes downhill from there defensively. Definitely our worst game of the season. Here, we are going to highlight Broderick Washington. Like I said, he is the 3 technique right here. Normally we've had Matabike in, but they kind of rotate, and he just gets pancaked here. Not only does he get pancaked, but we have multiple missed tackles. They are just going to run a simple zone game. Simple zone scheme here. All right. So he's not double teamed. Tight end's working up to the next level to Queen. And he just doesn't get his arms extended until right here. And then once the guard gets into him, watch. Boom. Puts him on his tail. All right. Next, what you can see is we had a hand on him here. Didn't have a chance to wrap up the running back right there, or at least slow him down enough to get other guys on the ball. And then you get Geno Stone gets caught inside, takes a bad angle, and gets stiff-armed really badly. And then the closest guy is 25 yards down the field, Kyle Hamilton. And Marlon Humphrey's getting blocked up out here too. Overall, poor tackling, and just Broderick Washington, they're going to run it right at you. Okay, so here it's just a busted coverage. Too many guys in the flats, nobody over the middle of the field. All right, like I said, the inside linebackers were confused. I don't know. This doesn't seem like this was one of the debut coverages or anything like that. This was just a busted coverage, and it really shouldn't have been. So, again, we got Kyle Hamilton in the nickel. He is going to come off the edge. All right, we're going to run a cover 3. So we're in zone coverage, zone blitz, and we're going to drop. He's going to roll to the middle of the field. Our safety here should be in the flats. He's our flat player, okay? And then weak side, our inside linebacker here, I think that's Queen, has got the flats. And then that leaves the middle of the field by the Mike or Roquan, all right? So he should have the middle of the field. Problem is, he does not do this. All right. Instead of doing that, he runs to the flats out here with our safety. And we have two guys in the flats, nobody in the middle of the field. And then just watch what happens. They're running a simple, just a simple curl scheme right here. He's running to here. And this guy's wide open in the middle of the field because we have nobody there. See? Flats, flats. Nobody in the middle. I guess maybe it was supposed to be Owe dropping to the middle, but nobody dropped there. Maybe that's what they were supposed to be doing. I'm not sure. But either way, you get Amari Cooper, hit him right there for 6 or 7 yards, and he's got nobody for another 10, 15, and he makes us miss all the way down to the 5-yard line. Huge play for them. 25-yard game in the red zone. Set him up for a touchdown. All right, next, another busted coverage. Yay. All right, so this is what we're seeing here. We have this I think is a debut coverage. I have not seen us run a 3-high safety look in this situation where it's, I think, 8 yards to go. All right, so what we're doing here is, or what we should be doing is, it's kind of like a 3-high look where we have 2 hole defenders here at the sticks, because I think this is a 3rd down. It looks like Humphrey is in zone, off zone, cover 3, and then it looks like the field corner, I think that's Yasin or Stevens, is in man coverage. We'll see on the snap. All right. Then what should happen is we should have somebody covering the flats, or we have to come up and make a tackle. All right, let's see what happens. All right, so we blitz Patrick Queen. All right, so we're blitzing Patrick Queen, and we're dropping Roquan. So Roquan's our middle of the field. We got these 2 guys covering the sticks, and it looks like Marlon reads that this receiver's crossing the field. So what I think should happen is somebody has to go with him. I'm not sure if it's supposed to be the safety here, Stone, or if Marlon is supposed to chase him. Either way, someone's messed up, and then he's just sitting there wide open. First down on a 3rd and 8. All right. Last play I want to highlight. This is the last play before half where they throw the Hail Mary up. Look what could have happened if we catch the interception. All right, Hail Mary, he's buying time, whatever. Clowney makes him throw it. All right, so we have both of these guys colliding off of each other for an interception. If one of them catches it and the other one blocks, look at all this. This is a potential pick 6 before the half. Right? I don't know defensively what you got to do here. It could be like the old baseball way, and you just say, I got it, and so, you get called off. But something, they need to go over this in this situation. If someone knows they have the interception, you got to call the other guy off. All right? Because this could have easily been a pick 6, because the only guys here that could chase you are running back and quarterback. The other guys are slow linemen. So if you outrun 2 of them, it's a touch. Anyway, that's what I saw this week. Hopefully we get a much better outing Thursday night versus the Bengals. And we're back from the TK's Coaches Film Room. Hope you guys enjoyed the Cleveland just massacre. I guess it wasn't a massacre, but it was just a dreadful loss.
You know what's going to be great if this happens? I would love Cleveland if obviously I want to win the division, but if we find a way to not win the division, I would love Cleveland to win it and go into Cleveland and just beat them the same way they beat us, out physical them, break their spirit, break their hearts, and send those vile fans home crying.
Yeah, it's funny because you said after the game, you're like, I can't wait to play these guys in the playoffs. I'm like, to me, I do not want to like I said, these guys match up well versus us. I don't want to match up against them.
No, man, they wronged us. I want them. I want their head on a stake. I want. Look, we have not beaten Deshaun Watson in a Browns uniform, and I'm sorry, I will not accept getting eliminated to a. I'm not going to say the word, but you all know what I'm thinking. You know,
Yep.
I'm sorry. I won't accept it. That man's a little bitch, and we need to put him in his place.
Yeah. Why don't we just go
I'm
ahead
sorry,
and
that's so
get into
dark.
the offense?
Hey, if you guys can tell where my head's been these last few days after the loss.
Mike has been in a dark place.
Dude, hey, look, you should have seen me in the group chat after the game. Tyler had to talk me down a bit. I thought I hurt his feelings because he was talking me down. I'm like, no, Tyler.
No, I know it's not personal.
Thank
We're all
God.
very passionate.
It's a very bipolar fan base to be a part of because Ravens X was very toxic this week, as you would expect.
Speaking of bipolar, how about the freaking Shannon Sharp BS that he tries to put out?
Right. I don't even watch it.
Dude, it's so
It's like
bad.
Stephen A.
Literally, like last week, he said why he backs Lamar as his MVP.
Mhm.
This week, not even a week later, he said, I can't trust Lamar.
I will say it is kind of hard to trust him when he consistently overthrows wide open receivers for touchdowns and then makes really like he just misses as you saw in the tape. And this is a recurring thing. And I just don't know what's going through his head in these things. If he just doesn't trust his own line fully, if he only really trusts Mark Andrews in certain scenarios, but he doesn't look at the whole field sometimes. And a couple of times, especially on the pick six, he's like he just doesn't see people. You know,
I feel like the
and
pick six was more on McCary getting beat, and
mhm.
he was
Or
literally
sorry,
he was on his knees,
yeah,
and the D lineman was able to just easily bat it down or bat it
yeah.
up, I guess.
Well, yeah, you're right. Still, though, I mean, he's
The
just
first
very
interception
turnover
was
prone.
bad. The first interception that he threw, and it was a go ball, and he underthrew. I think it was Bateman or Flowers, one of those two.
Right.
And everyone's like, that was such a bad pass. It had to be a miscommunication. No, it
He
was just a
underthrew it.
really, really bad pass.
Do you know? I it's I almost wonder if the ball is a little too big for Lamar's hands.
Nah, he rips it too good, and he
He
doesn't have
does,
any
but
problem throwing spirals.
I don't know, man. Though it's like consistently year after year. It's not like every game, but he'll turn it on. He'll be so good, great, MVP caliber. Probably 12 games out of the year, but then the other 6, he just turnover machine, missing passes,
Well, I
throwing
think
to
he gets
double
away
coverage.
with poor fundamentals so much because he's so athletically gifted
Mm-hmm.
that it comes back to bite him in certain situations because you can't always get away with it. And
Mm-hmm.
like when you have there's a reason why they call it fundamentals. Like you are just consistent and you're going to make that throw over and over again as long as you keep those fundamentals. But when you have 3 or 4 different platforms that you're throwing off of when you don't need to,
Yeah.
it's going to cause inconsistency.
I will say there are times when he has an arm angle, and I'm like, holy crap, that's like Patrick Mahomes. But then sometimes it's like, why did you do that?
He does it when he doesn't need to. That's the problem. I saw it even a couple times. I think he missed a touchdown pass to Mark Andrews this week when he tried to make the jump pass, and there was nobody in his face or anything, so he didn't need to. He just needed to, stand and deliver.
Zip it,
And
yeah.
and then the ball like went nowhere near Mark Andrews, and I was like, well,
Yeah.
that's the crazy thing is he made that same play against Tennessee, I think, and he zinged it right to him. But like I said, when you try to get away from your fundamentals, you're not going to make that play every single time. It's inconsistent. That's why you try to stick to your fundamentals.
Definitely. So let's highlight offense with the Bengals game. I think the key to this game, especially with the questions on their D line, is give Keaton Mitchell the ball. He didn't get very many touches last week. He's fresh, and he's the best runner outside of Lamar on the team that's healthy. I will argue that JK is a little better when he's healthy, but who knows at this point after three major surgeries. He's our most electric runner on offense, and he uses sheer speed to just dominate. It's not even like he's shifty, or I mean he is, but it's not his shiftiness. It's just his ability to break to the outside or kind of just find an open lane and take off.
Yeah. Cincinnati is not the defense that they used to be.
No, they're not.
Houston threw for 350 yards and ran for 150 yards on them. All right. Now they're missing two of their defensive ends. Probably their best two players on defense are their two defensive ends. So again, we're going to have offensive tackle question marks with no Ronnie Stanley, but I think McCary will do just fine versus a backup defensive end. It's not Myles Garrett this week. You're getting back Morgan Moses, who's been good.
Very solid.
The Bengals play a lot of man coverage, but they don't have very strong defensive backs. Their defensive backs are pretty weak. And I think if they're going to do that, we could see some big passing numbers. And I really think that Zay Flowers could really eat this game because him in man coverage, he just creates so much separation. Now, I will say maybe they'll force Lamar to throw these deep passes because they've seen how poor his accuracy is. And they'll say, you know what, we'll take that chance.
Maybe they will.
But
I think also the key to getting back on the win column this week, because we've put ourselves in a situation where we can't lose this game. We can't lose this game. If we seriously want to contend in this division, we cannot lose this game. We have to dominate the line of scrimmage, which we're in a position to do. But there are certain people on that offensive line that just prove time again that you can't trust. And now, of course, most of them aren't starters. Ronnie Stanley's the only starter I really don't trust. Ben Cleveland's another one. He came in a couple times, as you saw. He's the reason that we had that field goal blocked. That's the game. We make that field goal, game over, right? We win by 1 point.
Speaking of Ben Cleveland, like you said, he did come in for Zeitler it looked like Zeitler got banged up a little bit, but he's not on the injury report, so that's good.
Thank God. Faalele, I love Faalele. I think personally he'll be good one day because he's such a big body and he's kind of just still learning the technical stuff, but he's just getting thrown in way too early. He
doesn't match up well versus speed.
Right. And
which at the tackle position in the NFL, you're going to get matched up with speed. That's just that's the position.
I do worry, especially on a short week. If we get banged up, they could still find a way to win that line of scrimmage because we're a really good starting O-line. We're an atrocious backup O-line. And when you have to start mixing and matching, I mean, last time we played the Bengals, we mixed and matched and it was okay, but it wasn't perfect. We did dominate in the air that game. That was like our kind of breakout wide receiver game or breakout passing game. So I think you're dead right. I think if we can find ways to get open space with Zay Flowers, I don't know, man. He's looked a little better in these last few weeks. He's still not getting great separation, but OBJ has been kind of on it.
Oh, OBJ looks like speed-wise back to his old self a little bit. This week he got marked at like 19 miles per hour, which is pretty darn fast.
If he can keep it.
Yeah, and just to put that in perspective, I think Keaton Mitchell's at like 22. So not that far behind.
Rashad Bateman looks to be at full speed too, and he's been getting open.
And his hands have been really good. Like he's had some really good catches, tough catches.
Is he another person we'd have to sign, or would we just be doing a fifth-year option this year?
I believe he's got an extra, so yeah, fifth-year option would be that his.
But this was the year we'd be having to make that decision, right?
I believe so. Yeah, I believe so.
Year 3. Yeah, 2021, 22, 23. Yeah. So at the end of the season, we'd have to make that decision. I think offensively, we do match up really well against this team. I think we can, unless we have some weird voodoo Thursday night BS that happens to about 75% of the teams in the league, we do match up really well. And I think we can get yards on them. I think we can score on them. I'm not worried about our offense.
To me, it's just, this goes both sides of the ball, but Thursday night football, it's all about the preparation and how mentally ready you are able to be prepared. And because a lot of times it's just, very sloppy games because guys just, didn't get as many reps that week in practice running these plays. So the timing, the spacing, all that stuff is off. So the question for me will be, how well of a job do we do coaching with Monken and the other offensive coaches versus how well the Cincinnati Bengals do defensively coaching with,
Well, let me. Oh, go ahead.
I forget their DC's name, but he's been up for head coach
Lou
positions.
Anarumo.
Anarumo, yeah. So
Yeah.
he's a good coach. So we got to be on our
Yeah.
P's and Q's.
Luckily, Monken is a really good coach as well. And you know, I'm gonna do this transition here. Watch how smooth this is. You know who is gonna be locked in and ready to go on Thursday? A boy named Joseph Burrow, who is fighting for his playoff life right now. They're 0-2 in the division. They can't lose this game. Their backs are against the wall. They've seen our defensive weaknesses. We just showed the whole league that we aren't as tough as we seem. At least we weren't last Sunday. He's going to be ready.
Yeah, before we get into the Bengals game, let's just talk a little bit about the Browns' defensive performance for us.
Mm-hmm.
I think we are on the same page that was the worst defensive performance we've had this
We just seemed
year.
discombobulated. Like we didn't know exactly where we needed to be.
It was very similar to the Arizona Cardinals game to me, but we were, obviously the better team by far against them. And this week we weren't. It wasn't that big of a difference,
Right.
talent-wise. The other thing, like we mentioned in the film study, was the amount of blown coverages. We got to clean that up. That can't be something that happens on a Thursday, because that is what I'm talking about when it comes to sloppy football that you see on Thursday, blown coverages, things like that. And the fact that we did that on a regular week scares me a little bit with this Thursday night game.
Now, I do think that Roquan kind of will get us back together and ready to go. He's a good defensive leader. And I think what kind of just really shocked me about the Ravens last week is we had so much trouble getting to Deshaun Watson. A, because he's mobile, and B, because we were just out physicaled by that. Let's face it, that second string O line. I mean, they're patching it together the way we were last year, and they out muscled, they outplayed our D line, and that scares me because look, the Bengals aren't much better as an offensive line than the Browns, but they are using most of their starters.
Yeah, I think the other thing that you got to look back on is the fact how we choked in the fourth quarter defensively. When we really needed a stop, we couldn't make one.
What does Joe Burrow do in the fourth quarter consistently?
Exactly. So this is, to me, it's going to come down to those, one or two drives in the fourth quarter. How does our defense respond? Are they able to make a stop? Are they able to cause a turnover? Are they able to, do something to get Burrow off of his game? Because we all know Burrow is going to get the ball out very quickly. He has a very quick release.
Isn't it something like 2.5 seconds every snap?
Yes. And especially I recognized that when we played in the first game, I know he was really trying to get rid of it even quicker because of his calf injury. And I feel like he might hold it a little bit longer now that he's fully healthy. But with that comes the fact that he is able to make guys miss. He does have that short area of quickness where he's able to, just avoid pass rushers and, still be able to hit somebody downfield 20 yards in perfect stride.
And that's what I mean when I say like him as a rushing quarterback, because yeah, he can rush for yards sometimes, but he really does make you miss. I know he's not like primarily a rushing quarterback, but he, especially against us, has made us miss a lot over the years. I think what also is going to be a little frustrating is pardon me, is the fact that since he does get the ball out so fast, they can really kill us in the screen game. And it doesn't really matter who they're throwing to, as long as they have someone who can make one guy miss, like Jamar Chase, like Mixon sometimes. I forget who their tight end is, but even if it's not like a screen, but like a little shovel pass or something, like those are the plays that can kill us. The little quick short things where you get yards after catch.
Isn't it Irv Smith, their tight end?
It might be. I honestly couldn't tell you.
Yeah. Now, I remember they had Hayden Hurst last year, and now he's not there.
Now he's on the Panthers, and he's on IR. And I feel bad for him because I wish he was on a contender. I know a lot of Ravens fans don't like him because he was cocky and he was on the Bengals. But honestly, I really do like Hayden Hurst, and I wish he was in a better situation like Baltimore. Or, anywhere but Carolina. I will say how you were mentioning that the Browns are the team that match up really well against us. I do think we're the team that matches up really well against the Bengals because we've been building to fight the Bengals, because they've been our biggest competition in the AFC North. So I think if we were playing the Steelers on Thursday night, I would be very terrified. I think if we were playing the Chiefs on Thursday night, I'd be really terrified as well. I'm a little less scared because it's the Bengals, but that doesn't mean we can just walk into this game and expect to win, like we clearly did against the Browns.
Yeah, I think it all starts with the run game. Like
Mhm.
the Browns were able to run the ball on us. The Cardinals were able to run the ball on us. Those were the Colts. All three of those games, we were able to, we let up big runs. And I feel like Joe Mixon's actually starting to get a little ground game going with them. So we got to nip that in the bud right out the bat. We can't allow that run game to get going at all because we need to keep them in those long yardage situations. Keep Joe Burrow on his heels.
I want to see those nickel blitzes with Kyle Hamilton. I want to see a heavy dose of those because it's going to force Joe Burrow to have to make a quick decision. And Kyle Hamilton proved that he's got the ups, he's got the awareness to pick it off if it's like trying to do a quick pass over his head or something.
Yeah, you're not that doesn't fly against him. He's
right. So I expect to see that. And maybe we do some more of those like exotic kind of corner blitzes or like where we kind of disguise who's rushing.
The hard part about it is with it being a short week, how much of that are we going to be able to create? How much are they able to put into a game plan that is very exotic? That's stuff that we haven't done.
I would hope that maybe we kind of
without having busts.
I think hopefully we maybe had like attacked the Bengals and Browns game a similar way, but the Browns we just didn't execute the way we needed to, and maybe we kind of have something similar against the Bengals, but we can execute it better. Because they are very similar in the sense of like how we have to stop them since they don't have Nick Chubb on Cleveland. A quarterback who can get away, find his speedy receiver, or find his tight end. And actually, we match up better against the Bengals because they don't have that game-changing tight end.
They don't. That is a big thing. Because we really we showed the biggest thing was we gave up throws over the middle of the field to big body guys. Even Amari Cooper,
they get like 15 yards after the catch every time.
Yeah, so we can't let guys just pick us apart in zone coverage. And that's something Burrow is very capable of doing. He's very smart. He knows where the holes are in your zone coverages. And if you bust a coverage versus him, it might be a touchdown. So that's what scares me the most is just allowing them. One, can we stop the run? Two, are we going to have these busted coverages like we did over the middle of the field last week? I'm okay with them taking passes out in the flats because that doesn't add up to much usually, and you're able to use the sideline as an extra defender.
Right.
And the other thing that is a key for me is we have to cause turnovers.
Mm-hmm.
And it's going to be we need multiple in this one because this is a high-powered offense, and they are going to move the ball.
Yeah, they really will. I know you were describing it in your whole film room segment, but we can't have this thing where we have two guys going for the same interception. We can't have like miscommunications like that. I know with the whole fumble at the end of the game with Deshaun Watson losing the ball just kind of bounced their way. But it's been a couple of weeks where we've caused fumbles and had an opportunity to get on it and just haven't. There was the failed scoop and score last week or the week before. It seems like more often than not, whenever we create a fumble, they get it back,
Yeah, definitely. So, it also feels like we're not past the defensive line, maybe like the secondary and linebackers. We're not trying to punch that ball out like other teams are as much.
No.
So I'd like to see some of that some more. The last thing I'll say about our defense is they're going to move the ball, right? It's just the nature of playing a Pro Bowl level quarterback. The biggest thing is we have to play with that bend but don't break mentality. Our red zone defense has to come up huge this week because, if I think we can put up enough points where we can beat a team that's only kicking field goals.
Right. And I would just like to say one last thing as well. I would like to see, I think the difference maker on defense really could be how well of a game that our outside linebackers have and how big of a game that Justin Madubuike has. Because if Justin Madubuike can come in and wreck the game like he has been, they will be kicking field goals. They won't be scoring touchdowns, you know?
Definitely.
And if Kyle Van Noy can kind of recover and Jadeveon Clowney can kind of recover, and if Ricken Odafe Owe could just finish a sack, it seems like every week he has a sack, but then he has a sack that he lets go. We can just kind of play to the way we've come to expect, then we have no problem, you know?
Yeah. But with that, let's go ahead and get into our bold predictions of the week.
Okay, you go first.
I think we have to switch it up now that we had a loss. You go first.
I'll start with defense. It's a bad and a good. I think we let up a record number of yards this week, but we also don't let them score more than one touchdown. I think we hold them to one or less touchdowns. They'll still score points because they'll score field goals. But I think that our red zone defense is going to step up. I think missing T. Higgins will be big because we can put more emphasis on Jamar Chase, and they really don't have another game-changing running back. I think our defensive line is going to come back in a big way and really want to prove that no one's going to run on us, so it's going to be tough for them to run with Joe Mixon. Joe Mixon always has trouble running against us, no matter how he's doing in the normal season with other teams. He always has trouble against us. So, yeah, one or less touchdowns, but a record number of yards. So, a good and a bad.
Okay.
Offensively, I think Lamar's going to run it in for 3 touchdowns. I think that's kind of going to be the game changer, is running the ball in the red zone, killing clock. I know that we're going to pass all over them if we play to our best, but scoring once we're in the red zone, keeping it on the ground successfully will be key, and I think it'll show up big. I think Lamar kind of wants to make up for the game he had last week. That being said, I guess my prediction, I didn't want to give us the win this week, but I do think we match up really well against the Bengals. I think we win 20-16.
20-16. All right.
And I think the reason we win is because we stop them on 4th and goal.
I can see that. All right. Well, normally I am very optimistic with my predictions. This week, I'm going to do the opposite. I'm going to be very pessimistic.
Okay.
And hope that they're wrong.
Okay.
All right. So, offensively, Lamar's turnover struggles continue. He throws 2 interceptions and has a fumble. 3 total turnovers.
Wouldn't shock me at all.
Defensively, Burrow is going to get the ball out extremely quickly, and we will have 1 or less sacks.
That could also happen.
It's bold because I don't think we've had a game this year where we've had less than 1 sack.
Right. Even last week
1.
with its struggling D-line, we still had a couple sacks. So it's not, what are we at, like 47 now? 46?
Yeah. So with that being said, my score prediction is that we lose this one. We drop 2 straight, and we lose 21-17.
Well, if that happens, I guarantee you we won't be winning this division.
Yeah.
I guarantee it. Because we will be dropping to 2-3 in the division, and we're not beating the Steelers. And we're probably not beating the 49ers the way we've been playing. Or the Dolphins because they can run through us. Or name a team besides the Rams.
Yeah, I'm
Just saying.
Pretty much doing this in hoping that whatever I say, the opposite happens, because that seems to be how this season has gone.
Okay. So we're split. I think we're going to win. You think we're going to lose. Let's take a look at our week last week, by the way, with all of our...
Yeah.
We had a pretty bad week with predictions.
Yes, it was extremely bad. It was a historically bad week.
What did we go 0-12?
No, not quite, but it wasn't good. Both of us went 2-5. Your tie prediction did not happen.
It almost. I was for until the beginning of the 4th quarter. I was starting to think like, oh my goodness.
When it was a
Like,
4-point difference, I was like, all right, there goes the tie.
well, when the Raiders were driving and they were up by 4, I thought they were going to score a field goal, and then Zach Wilson was going to score a touchdown to tie it. Because
Yeah.
two bad teams. That's kind of when miraculous things happen.
Yes.
But
yeah, it was pretty bad last week. Let me just quickly take a peek here. The only 2 games we got right were the Thursday night game where we picked Chicago over Carolina, and the Pittsburgh game where we each picked Pittsburgh over Green Bay,
which was a much closer game than I thought it would be.
Yes. We each picked New England and they lost. We each picked Cincinnati, they lost.
Thank God.
You picked the tie and I picked the Jets. Either way, they lost.
I was so glad that the Raiders managed to win that.
And last night, Monday night, Buffalo squanders away against the Broncos, and they fired their OC, Ken Dorsey.
It's funny because when they were about to kick that field goal before he missed the first time, I was like, this dude's going to miss. This dude is going to miss it. And he missed it, but they had 12 men on the field.
That was the worst. And then I thought just as bad of a coaching decision was the decision to run an all-out blitz when it was like 3rd and 10 or 15 after they got the sack, and then they got the pass interference. They left their guy out on an island by himself. I was like, that they were already out of field goal range, and now you're going to give them an easy pass interference.
Like, I get you don't want them to get 5 or 6 yards on a zone coverage.
But in that stadium, in that end zone, kicking a field goal from 45 compared to 25 is a big difference.
You saw him. He was rushed. He missed a 41-yarder wide right. He would have still been rushed because they had to waste that last timeout, and it would have been a longer kick no matter what.
Yes.
But you gave away the PI. You gave away and stopped the clock. And then they were just able to kneel it, and then you still had a chance to win because he missed the field goal, and he squandered that too.
Yeah,
it does. I mean, as bad as we feel as Ravens fans at 7-3, the Bills are 5-5. They're not in the playoffs right now. The Texans are because they won. Last week.
Apparently, the statistics say that, or the odds, I guess, the Bills have a 70% chance of not making the playoffs.
Can't say I'm shocked. I kind of didn't have them in the playoffs this year, but that's also when I thought Aaron Rodgers was playing. So they've kind of look, dude. The Dolphins aren't all that. And
I'm saying if the Jets can win 1 or 2 of these games before Rodgers comes back, they can win the division. If the Dolphins keep losing, it's
like every team is trying to lose that division, dude. The Patriots could come on a tear and find a way to win this division at this point, dude. Like, I know that's not going to happen. They're god awful, but let's just say, like, I don't know, maybe Bailey Zappi just turns into freaking Brett Favre for half a season, Yeah. So this week I think this is obviously the first one in a few weeks.
This is going to be the least amount of games that we play.
Yeah.
All right. So right now, we've got 4 total games, including ours.
Mm-hmm.
All right. We just picked the Cincinnati-Baltimore Thursday night game. You picked the Ravens. I picked the Bengals. All right. Now, AFC North has another interdivision matchup. Pittsburgh at Cleveland on Sunday.
Cleveland's going to win.
You got Cleveland?
I know Pittsburgh won the last one, but they got so lucky in that game, kind of how they did against us. And Cleveland's I can't imagine the Steelers being able to do anything against that defense if we weren't real. I mean, yeah, we put up 24 points on them, but we really weren't able to do anything once they got it clicking. So I don't think that the Steelers can do anything against that defense. And I think that the offense, obviously the defenses will kind of cancel each other out, but the Browns offense is better than the Steelers offense. And I think that the Browns will probably cause multiple turnovers.
The Browns are going to cause multiple turnovers, you said?
Yeah, and that's kind of going to be the difference maker because they'll just be in short field positions and be able to score a touchdown or a field goal.
I have a hot take here.
Okay.
I think Cleveland plays worse at home.
Really?
I just feel like every time I watch them and they're playing at home, that they don't play very well.
I mean, they did beat the 49ers at home.
Well, that was a West Coast team. I'm saying East Coast
Yeah,
versus
I mean,
East
that's
Coast.
true. That's true. But they also were starting PJ Walker that game, so it's like I see what you're saying though. I mean, I'm not saying you're wrong. That game
You know
was
what?
kind of
I
a
think
freaky game.
Cleveland honestly had an extremely emotional win versus us. I think that they treated that game like their Super Bowl, and that they're going to be out there, and Pittsburgh's going to take it to them. I'm going to go Steelers.
You know what would make my year? If after that win the Browns lost out, just found a way to lose every single game for the rest of the year. I wouldn't even be mad that we lost to them anymore. I'd be like, you deserve everything. You deserve everything. It's never going to happen.
And that is our only normal time game that we are picking.
Right.
So now we're going to Sunday Night Football. We've got Minnesota at Denver.
Dude, what is it with these Sunday night games, man? Flex the Steelers Browns to Sunday night for God's sake. At this point,
hey, Minnesota is hot. Denver is hot.
Josh Dobbs is way better than people give him credit for. But I don't know how long it's going to last. I think that the Broncos are a more complete team. Is Justin Jefferson playing right now? Is he back on the field?
I saw something today where they said he was back and running. I don't think he's back yet playing.
So, both very similar in the sense of like slightly above average to average offenses and slightly above average to average defenses. You know, they're just average teams that are playing very well. And I've talked very well about the Vikings, and you know, I think it's a little different now than Kirk Cousins out. I obviously had them going a very far way with Kirk Cousins. I do think that's kind of a difference maker. It does knock them down a couple notches. How you said this is in Minnesota?
Denver, Mile High.
In Denver? I think that the fact that maybe the Vikings will be able to move the ball a little better than the Broncos will contribute to a Vikings win because they can just kick really long field goals in Mile High. But I think my gut's telling me that the Broncos will find a way to win, so I'm going to pick the Broncos 21-20.
Wow. All three picks. I am picking the Vikings because I like Josh Dobbs. Like you said, I feel like they get an extra day to prepare with his genius mind, and they're going to be able to just put in more plays. Him and Hawkinson have really developed a relationship. They've actually supposedly been throwing in the offseason together before that he was even on the Vikings because they're both from Tennessee. And so I think they have a very strong relationship, and I think it's going to be hard to cover TJ Hawkinson.
That's true. I guess the thing that maybe makes me sway the Broncos way is as controversial and as weird as he can be, I think Sean Payton is the better of the two head coaches.
I like Kevin O'Connell.
I'm not saying he's a bad coach. I'm just saying I think Sean Payton is a slightly better coach. And I think now that
he definitely has the track record and the success behind it.
Well, I think he's kind of got his crap together now. Like he was really struggling early on, like way over his head, but he's kind of found a way to get behind this team and understand how to win with the team he has. You know, I mean, let's not forget these guys just beat the Chiefs and the Bills in back-to-back games. And even though we've talked down on the Bills, I mean, they still have Josh Allen, they still have Stephon Diggs, they still have Jordan Poyer. You know, so It's not like they're bad.
I just don't know. I don't know. I just feel like this is an extra week with Dobbs in the offense. He's going to be that much more comfortable. And I think Kevin O'Connell is going to put him in a good position. He's now learning how Dobbs plays the game. And I think that, we'll see.
I think the one thing I have to say about Dobbs is just how incredibly smart he is. He gets traded right before the season to Arizona, learns a whole new playbook than what he'd been training with all offseason. No, he doesn't win every game, but he wins one, and he's in pretty much every game he starts. And then he gets traded midweek to Minnesota, and again, like he doesn't know the damn playbook. He didn't even know his teammates' names, and he still manages to win So it's like, yeah, he's smart. He's a quick learner. And I wouldn't be shocked if the Vikings win, but I'm gonna stick with my gut and say that the Broncos will win.
All right. And then this may be the game of the year, the Super Bowl rematch, Monday Night Football, Philly at Kansas City. Whew, that's going to be a fun one to watch. Who you got?
Well, the Chiefs always find a way, but the Eagles are the better team on paper because they have two game-breaking wide receivers. They match up really well against the Chiefs, especially with the fact that the Chiefs don't have much of an offense as far as wide receivers go. I mean, they can run the ball, but they won't. It's the Eagles. They won't really be able to. Kelsey will be good, but you can't just only rely on Kelsey. And, you've seen games where, like, when Mahomes gets a lot of pressure and he doesn't have receivers, he does struggle to move the ball down the field. I mean, you saw that Broncos game a couple of weeks ago. You even saw that Dolphins game a couple of weeks ago. It looked good at first, but it didn't amount to much. I mean, they did manage to beat the Dolphins, but it was way tighter than it should have been. And I think that the Eagles built themselves up this offseason to beat the Chiefs because they thought they were going to play the Chiefs in the Super Bowl again. So at least if this is, I would probably guess this is round 1 of 2, but I think round 1 goes the Eagles' way.
All right. So here's what I'm thinking.
Are we going opposites on all 4?
Kansas City is coming off of a bye week.
Mm-hmm.
Is Philly coming off of a bye week? Yes, they both are coming off of a bye week.
Yeah.
What coach do you think would prepare the best off coming, on a bye week?
Definitely Andy Reid.
Which coach, you had a bye week before the Super Bowl, so which coach prepared better for the Super Bowl last year?
I would argue that I still think that Eagles should have won that game, but I guess technically Andy Reid.
So to me, yes, the Eagles have the better roster, but the Chiefs are going to continue to find a way because of their coaching. They are going to find holes in the Eagles' defense that no one has found before. And the Chiefs' defense is pretty darn good. And Jalen Hurts has been throwing a lot more interceptions than usual this season. So I'm picking the Kansas City Chiefs in Arrowhead, one of the hardest places to play, coming off of a bye week with an extra week of prep.
I respect that. I think that Jalen Hurts and A.J. Brown have had a lot more chemistry these last few weeks. And I also think that while, yes, Andy Reid is definitely the better coach, the rosters are so different at this point than they were in the Super Bowl, meaning the Eagles are just that much better than the Chiefs are in the roster that it equals out. Because I can't deny that a great coach can beat anyone. But let's look at the Eagles for a minute. They're what, 8-1, 8-1, right?
The Eagles?
Yeah, they're 8-1, right?
I don't even know.
I would say out of their 8 wins, they probably should have lost 5 or 6 of them, but they didn't. They know how to win when their back's up against the wall. And if anyone's going to put their back up against the wall, it's going to be the Chiefs. And they keep doing it, And I think that's where like a better roster than the other team does come in, even if they are being outcoached, Or I could even make the argument that when they're underperforming, they're still outcoaching those other teams because they're still finding ways to win,
I think this is their this is their first tough matchup on the road this season.
That's right, because they played Dallas at home.
The toughest matchup they've had on the road was the New York Jets, and they lost.
They lost. You're not wrong.
The next toughest was the Commanders, who they beat 38-31.
Commanders always play them tough.
So, this game's on the road. The other game on the road was the first game of the season. They played at New England, and they only won 25-20.
Mm-hmm.
All of their home games, they win by wider margins. So
might be onto something there, man.
I don't know. We'll see.
Like I said, I respect the pick. I could see it
I
going
can't wait
either
for this
way.
game. I can't wait for that game. I
Dude,
might
I
be looking
honestly,
forward to that game more than the
right.
Ravens game.
I honestly might. I mean, I've noticed these past few weeks I've really only been watching the Ravens just because I don't switch back and forth between the Ravens and other teams. And normally the afternoon games have kind of sucked, and so have the night games. Like all of the primetime games really this year have sucked. But yeah, dude, I also might be more excited about that game than the Ravens game. I kind of dread the Ravens game. Even though I picked us to win, I'm terrified of what's going to happen if we don't.
So emotionally investing. That's the difference. I can
Yeah,
relax and watch an Eagles Chiefs game.
right, because yeah, I mean, I'm rooting for the Eagles so that if we win, we can be right back there with the Chiefs at the top of the conference. But
Yeah, that's true. I didn't even think about that.
but you know,
Well, let's go ahead and take a look at these picks then, real quick.
okay.
Right now, it's every single game we have picked opposites.
Yeah.
Every
So
single one.
I will either. I mean, if one of us like sweeps it, it will be a terrible week, for the other person.
Place your parlays now. If you're looking at this, place your parlays. Are you going Team Mike or Team Tyler? You pick.
I think they'll probably go Team Tyler because you actually played football. But
that doesn't mean anything.
I mean, maybe.
So yeah, that's what we got. We'll see how it shakes out. But with that, let's go ahead and get into Mike's top 5. Actually, wait, bottom 5.
Bottom 5 Ravens. Number 5. 2 false starts. Got hurt again. Wasn't very convincing when he was playing. Ronnie Stanley. I want him off the team after this year. I don't want him to be a Raven after this season. I'm done with him. I know, like I was saying earlier, it's the worst part of the sport. And I know it's really toxic to say that's a business, but it is. And there are better players out there that won't be worth anywhere near what he wants. And if we cut him, we'll clear up the cap space and we'll get a comp pick. I don't think anyone's going to trade for him. But when inevitably the Jets or the freaking Giants or one of those mini Baltimore teams signs him in the offseason after we cut him, we'll get a really good comp pick for that. What would it be like? Isn't the best you can get for a comp like a third rounder?
I think 4th, maybe 3rd.
4th?
I don't think we've ever gotten a 3rd.
Okay. But he was a former first round, like top 5 first round pick with a massive contract. So I don't know how that works exactly. I'll be completely honest. Either way, I feel like it'd be a pretty good comp pick, especially if the team signs him to like a multi-year contract. Number 4, and I don't expect to see him on a bottom 5 if we lose again. But Patrick Queen, he just didn't really seem like he knew what he was doing out there, what the assignment was every down. He had some good plays, but the middle linebackers were a big reason as to why we lost the game. That brings me to number 3, Roquan Smith, another player who will probably never be on the bottom 5 again. Hopefully, fingers crossed. Normally, he's able to kind of like have really good communication with everyone on defense, but there were a couple of blown coverages that like you wouldn't expect him to mess up. And he did. Number 2, a lot of people are going to be surprised he's not number 1, but you'll understand in a minute why. Number 2 is Lamar Jackson. Overthrowing, making bad reads, turning the ball over. Sorry, what?
I was just looking up. You can actually get a 3rd round comp pick.
Okay, cool.
3rd, 4th, or 5th.
Okay. Lamar Jackson, I don't expect him to have another game this bad this year unless he, is just playing a really dominant defense and can't get it together. Because here's the thing. I've seen him play dominant defenses and play really well. I think a lot of the reason that he played so poorly was because his offensive line was pretty non-existent. But you can't put it all on the O-line. He did make a couple really, really bad decisions in the game, and it cost us. It cost us. When you lose a 2-point game at home and you've have 31 points. Those turnovers are huge, especially that first one. I know the pick six actually put points on the board for the Browns, but let's be honest, that could have happened to anyone. The first one was, like he was saying earlier, was pretty bad. Number one, this player doesn't deserve. I don't even think they deserve to be in the XFL. They need to just retire from football and go live their life. They're married, have a kid, do your thing. You've got money, start a business, do something. Ben Cleveland, he doesn't know how to play football. He gets out physicaled, outsmarted, outplayed every time he's on the field by no matter who he lines up against, whether it's on special teams or offense. He just, look, he's probably about as bad as I would be out there, you know? Like, he just doesn't do anything. It's like not having a lineman, you know? Like,
if you were his size.
What I'm saying is, like, even me being 5'11" and like weighing 220 pounds, like, I still think, like, I'm not saying I'm better. I'm just saying he's performing about the same I would, you know? He's performing about the same as I would, and that's not a good thing when you're an offensive lineman in the NFL, because I am clearly not an offensive lineman in the NFL. I think the only place Ben Cleveland needs to play is Cleveland. If you go find a way to play and start in Cleveland, I'll be your biggest fan. I'll buy your jersey. But other than that, you just need to call it quits. It's been 3 years now. You were really good at Georgia, and ever since this is the dude who couldn't pass the freaking physical.
Yeah.
2 years ago. He is the biggest. You never know what's going on behind the scenes. I don't want to call him lazy, and I don't want to call him a slacker or anything like that, because maybe he really does have like problems going on at home. I know a lot of football players deal with mental health issues, and it's important to remember that everyone's human. But he is the worst player on the Baltimore Ravens.
He had the best preseason you would have ever thought he could have this year.
Preseason.
I know. I'm just saying, like, he didn't even show that any other year. And maybe it was because he knew he was playing for his job, because there's a chance he could get cut. But I was expecting him to make a turn in his career from that preseason, but I was wrong. And here we are.
We've got our 7th round pick, who really could have been a 2nd or a 3rd round pick, in Voorhees, waiting behind him, getting healthy this season. And I don't even think it's going to be a competition. I don't even think it's going to be close.
Yep.
And listen. I really, really do have to stress, Ben Cleveland, the human being, I do hope for your sake that you can find something to work out for you. But Ben Cleveland, the football player, get the fuck out of Baltimore. That's how it is, you know? Like, I do have compassion for him. I do understand that it's tough, you know, but man, you can't be that way. You can't be that way on a team that's expecting to play for Super Bowls, you know? Yeah, I know you're a backup, but we're a next man up mentality team, and you have never been good at being the next man up. Ever.
Roasted.
Look, I feel bad. It's like,
this is a Ben Cleveland roast.
I'm so bipolar about it, because, like, again, he is a human being. I do feel for the man, but you got to do your job, and he hasn't ever done his job since he's been a professional football player. So it's kind of like, I feel the same way about him as I did about Matt Elam all those years ago. Really nice guy, you know, was good in the community in Baltimore, from what I can remember. I'm pretty sure Ben Cleveland's pretty good in the community now too. Likes the city, but just trash football player. And, you know, football's not for everyone. There's a reason why so many people don't work out in the NFL. It's a hard sport to play at the top level.
On that note, we are going to get the heck out of here.
Yes, sir.
This is our 20th episode. So I am very grateful for each and every one of you that have, you know, been here along the way with us. And I hope that you continue to like and subscribe and share with all of your friends. Make sure that we can really build this brand up and reach other people. And I hope you enjoy all the different things that we do. If you have any suggestions for us, please don't hesitate to put that down in the comments. If you have any questions that you'd like for us to answer, please shoot our email at realtalkravenspodcast@gmail.com. That email is also in the description. So, yeah.
I did also want to tease, voice crack there, tease. I did also want to tease that we do have some interesting plans for the bye week. We will be releasing an episode that week, and it's going to be a lot of fun. I know it's coming up in a couple weeks. I know we're still a little bit ahead, but I'm excited for that episode. So,
yeah, I hope you enjoyed this week's mashup of the recap/preview. The Precap is what I like to call it. But hope you guys enjoy the rest of your week and are ready to root on the Ravens Thursday night. Go Bens.
Let's get this ship straight. Let's rebound like we haven't ever done.
Let's do it. Peace.
Yeah.